That's the feeling we've all had. How new shoes would make you glad, but the best time to recall when you wore no shoes at all. Back the days.
Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Living Lightly. I'm Dan Dorica, and today I'm going to be making one of my favorite foods in the summertime, which is fire roasted salsa. So I've got all these vegetables going, some of which I grew myself and some of which I had to buy because I haven't had all of these things ready at this time. But I do have a lot of tomatoes coming in, so it's mostly the tomatoes that I grew myself and that are the key ingredient in this salsa. But the thing is, like, if you start out with hardwood, pieces of hardwood, and sometimes I just use like this, some of this is pallet wood, some of it's lumber cutoffs, like from building projects. This is usually what I use to heat my home, but it works pretty well, and you just burn it down to coals and then use the coals kind of like charcoal briquettes to cook your food. And the amazing thing about this fire roasted salsa is that it just has that smoky flavor. It adds a smoky flavor to the salsa. And this is, I think, the traditional way that they make salsa in Mexico. So I had salsa for so many years, and it didn't taste anything like this. And then I made this myself and was just blown away by the added smokiness, how much that added flavor to the salsa. So that's what we're making today. So I usually just process these vegetables by cutting out the stem scars, and don't really have to take the seeds out. The seeds are kind of fine to leave in there, but this makes it a lot easier to process them after you've roasted them, because you just want to be able to, you don't want to have to handle the tomato too much, and all you have to do is take the skin off when you do this. And you don't have to roast every vegetable that you're going to use in the salsa. If you do like half of them, and especially I think it's important to do the peppers and the onions, but most of the tomatoes you don't have to roast unless you really want it to have a strong smoke flavor. But I find that if you do like half the vegetables, you get plenty of smoke flavor. Obviously, using the freshest vegetables that you can makes the best salsa, and the ripest tomatoes. I'm finding that I have to harvest my tomatoes a little bit early and let them ripen inside, because we have animals that are out there that are liking the tomatoes more than I do, I guess. And they tend to not wait until they ripen entirely to devour them. You can't smell what I'm smelling, but there's just something amazing about the smell of vegetables and food in general cooked over an open fire. And although there's this little blackness and singeing that I hear is cancer causing if you get too much of it, I think the trade-off is pretty worth it, because I think enjoying really good food adds a few years to your life. And I don't know, there's something about the taste of food that's been cooked over an open fire, and maybe it just goes back to that being most of human history, is eating food that was cooked over a fire, that somehow triggers our taste buds. But it's pretty amazing flavor, and that's really what makes this salsa taste so good. So now I'm going to use something that saves a lot of time. I don't want to cut all this stuff up by hand, and I think that the food processor I end up making a pretty good consistency salsa. Might not be traditional, but I kind of like to combine the old and the new. Oops, it's not quite on. So the onions are a different texture than other vegetables, so I'm starting with those. Perfect. Another key ingredient is the garlic, which is homegrown as well. And it's pretty fresh because I just harvested in mid-July. And this is a variety called German Extra Hardy. It's got huge cloves, so it makes it a lot easier to process. This is my handy Chinese cleaver. I find it makes a lot of processing work a lot easier. Wow, look at the size of that clove. It's one clove of German Extra Hardy. So this is what it's looking like so far. I've got the peppers, the onions, the tomatoes in there, and I still have some more tomatoes to add. I've added some lemon juice and some bear juice, which is something that I made from my grapes. It's sort of like an acidic replacement for lemon juice, but it's local. So I don't have that many hot peppers ready yet, so I'm just putting in some of this sriracha-like stuff that I made last year from all sorts of different super hot peppers, like scorpion peppers and some kind of Trinidadian pepper, because I like my salsa to be super hot. And then obviously salt is key. Well, that's how we make salsa the traditional and the hard way from local vegetables. And you know, even though it takes a lot of work to roast the vegetables on the fire, I think you get a product that you really couldn't get from a store. You know, even if you bought a smoky salsa at a store, likely it tastes that way because they added liquid smoke, and that's just not the same as fire roasting your own vegetables over an open wood fire. Well, thanks for watching another episode of Living Lightly, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet, and also give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and share it with your friends. And I'll see you next time. So I was just walking Banjo, and I came across this interesting example of what I think illustrates the importance of level and plumb in building, any kind of building that you're doing, because there are those people that seem to think that it's not really that important to make things level and plumb. And the problem is that when you make things that are off level or plumb, you have a constant force of gravity on your structure. And that is well